May 9th, known as Victory Day in Russia, commemorates the country's defeat of Nazis in 1945. It is a holiday celebrating the Soviet Union's vanquishing of Nazi Germany. Victory Day is Russia's annual commemoration of the end of World War II and is typically marked with Russian President Vladimir Putin addressing crowds and a military parade at Moscow's Red Square. To tell us more about this year's edition, we now cross to our SABC News correspondent, Stuart Smith. A very good day to you, Stuart. How important is this day to Russia?
It's a really important day. It is the main celebration of an event that Russia is very proud of, its actions during that World War II, or the Great Patriotic War as it's known here. And as per every year since the 1990s, the Russian president will be attending to oversee the event, and thousands of troops, tens of thousands across Russia, will be descending across squares all over the country. Now, Moscow's is of course the most famous one, with these scenes of troops parading through Red Square. And there was a rehearsal earlier in the week where these troops were preparing for it. We understand there will be around 130 military vehicles, 11,000 troops and 77 aircraft to mark 77 years since the victory of the Soviet Union over the Nazi forces. And it takes on a special meaning this year, of course, because denazification is exactly what Russia calls its so-called special military operation in Ukraine. The link has been made by politicians between what happened then and what Russia is doing now to justify the military operation. It says it's trying to remove Nazi forces in the Kiev government. In terms of the logistics, there will be this military parade, then there will be something known as the Immortal Regiment, where Russians hold up photographs of their ancestors who fought in that war, and that will be a celebration of their role that they played, before in the evening, later at night, fireworks. It is the most important military celebration for Russians. And also, though, unusually, there are no foreign heads of state who have been invited to the celebrations this year. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin press secretary, says it's purely a domestic affair, but it has been used to gauge international relations between Russia and the rest of the world in previous years. And of course, as this goes on with United Nations resolutions against this so-called special military operation, it's clear that many leaders, if they had been invited, would not have wanted to attend.
You've spoken about this year's preparations, how they are compared to previous years. Just what is the sense on the ground, though, just in terms of these changes for this year?
Yeah, we know that there are slightly fewer people taking part in the celebrations this year. So around 1,000 fewer troops, around 50, 60 fewer military equipment, because of course many of these are deployed in Ukraine itself, with an estimated around 100,000 Russian forces, Russian personnel, either near the Ukrainian border or taking part in the special military operation. In terms of the sense of what's going on here in Russia, there seems to be a lot of excitement. According to one polling agency, 6 out of 10 Russians intend to watch the parade on the TV. Those that aren't watching either have variously said they're there in person, they're going to visit cemeteries to visit their ancestors from the 1940s, or possibly going to local events which are held in addition to the big parades. It's also worth bearing in mind that this has been seen as a potential opportunity for the Russian president to announce maybe some new achievement or some next phase of the military operation. Now, the Kremlin has confirmed and said again today that what it is not planning to do is announce any sort of mobilization or officially declare war. Remember, this is called only a special military operation here in Russia. Those claims have been quashed by officials, but it's possible there will be some major announcement.
That special military operation that you're referring to is still raging on. Russia now has agreed to allow for the evacuation of Ukrainian citizens in some areas. Is this still the case?
Yeah, this is a ceasefire made purely by the Russian side, a humanitarian situation around that Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol. Yesterday, today and tomorrow. It's planned over 3 days. It's going to be allowed for civilians at that plant. It's not something being offered to Ukrainian forces or foreign mercenaries. It's only the elderly, children and workers at that plant. Now, Russia throughout the past few weeks has been offering humanitarian corridors, it says, daily for these people, but they don't tend to work without the consent of Ukraine and maybe a third party like the United Nations. However, unusually and potentially optimistically for today, this does have the Ukrainian officials on side. It has the United Nations and the Red Cross also on side to try and create this, to make it work. And we believe around half an hour ago it was due to start.
Of course, all of this has led to the weaponization of trade. How is Russia handling the oil embargo?
Yeah, this is the European Union looking to impose a sixth round of sanctions against Russia. We understand officials are talking today about what exactly that could mean. Now, for Russia, there is concern that this is one of its main sources of external revenue, a way to get in important US dollars and other foreign currencies into the country. And if there's an embargo by European Union nations, that would deprive Russia of billions of US dollars per month in revenue. Now, it seems like the latest plans by the European Commission are slightly watered down, with reluctance by some countries, Hungary, Slovakia and the Czech Republic, to fully go for 100% an embargo by the deadline set for the rest of the European Union by the end of the year, because these countries rely heavily upon Russian oil. So there could be an exception for them, but the European Union is confident this will go through. And if it does, Russia is expected to already be looking for new markets: India, China, other markets in Asia. But it will be difficult because, unlike Europe, Russia doesn't have pipelines going across the land to easily deliver to these nations. It would require using ships, and insurance companies have said they're not willing to insure Russian ships carrying Russian oil because of the consequences of secondary sanctions.
Stuart, of course, May 9th is known as Victory Day for a reason. What is your sense as you do your investigations? Is Russia feeling like it's going to come out triumphant this time?
Yeah, the statements from the Kremlin and the Foreign Ministry and the Ministry of Defense say despite all the sanctions being imposed, despite assistance from the West in terms of weaponry and intelligence to Ukrainian forces, Russia will prevail and succeed in its aims for the military operation. Of course, Russia has kept its aims vague throughout all of this, only saying it's looking to denazify the Ukrainian government, it's looking to destroy nationalist battalions and looking to so-called liberate those regions of the Donbass and Luhansk region, and we know specifically a few more details in terms of territory that Russia would like to at least take for a short while. It insists it is not looking to occupy Ukraine, it is only looking to so-called liberate certain settlements, but it's not clear what exactly the final picture is going to look like. Regardless, officials here are confident it's the one Russia wants.
Of course, we'll wait to hear that big announcement by the Russian president on Monday. Thank you so much, Stuart Smith.